Thank you. My name is Ross Wedlake, and I'm the chair of the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame and Museum. And I'd like to welcome you here this evening. First comment I will make is that look around, thank each and every one of you for being here. We've set a new record for attendance here tonight. Looking around, there are 279 people in this room. We appreciate the support that we get from the entire basketball community, and we hopefully will keep growing this event so it becomes a very special event every second year. We only do this every second year. It's hard to believe it's been 2 years since we were here last. It seems shorter than that, but it has been 2 years since we were here last. You noticed in the initial introduction to myself, I said that I am the chair of the Hall of Fame and Museum. That's one of the things that has changed in the last 2 years. We are now officially a level 1 museum, and you can see on the banner behind me, we have added the word "and museum." And that helps us for a lot of reasons. First of all, because we've always considered ourselves to be a place where the game is chronicled and a lot of artifacts are there and showcased. But it also helps us because we now qualified for some funding. And we have to do that every year, but we do get, not a lot, but some funding every year, being a level 1 museum through Culture and Heritage Manitoba. So we thank them for their support. Dinner will be served shortly, but I would like to just mention a few things. There's lots of people to thank here tonight. And the first group that I would like to thank are the members of our Hall of Fame and Museum Committee. They could just kind of stand and wave if they're able to. You laugh. It gets tougher every day. Myself, as I said, then we have Vic Pruden, who is the past chair, Janet McMahon, treasurer, Mr. Jerry Olchina, Mr. Herb Hannock, Bill Wedlake, Mrs. Jerry Olchina, Wes Trimble, Morris Winter, Sheldon Appel, Kurt Workington, Jerry Hemmings, and Adam Woodlake is our recording secretary. He is the executive director of Basketball Manitoba. One of the other things that I can tell you that has happened in the last 2 years is we have developed a constitution, which we thought was important because who knows what's going to happen to any of us, and we'd like to have what has been happening written down so that those who come know maybe how it's been operating, and if they choose to change it, they could. We are going to be adding, hopefully, a vice chair to our committee, and we have someone in line. I won't mention his name because Bob Town might get mad. But we're hoping to add a vice chair to our committee very soon. And the Constitution is kind of a fluid document that we're developing as we go along. Before dinner is served, I would like to say a quick grace if we could, please, and I'll just wait until the prizes are moved to the front. These prizes, the tickets will be sold just for a few minutes, maybe while dinner is being served, but as soon as dinner is served, it will stop. So if you haven't bought your tickets yet, feel free to do so. They are some really nice prizes, and we're very thankful to all of the donors, the universities, all 3 universities, I'll mention them later, and the people, the Manitoba High School Athletic Association, Basketball Manitoba, Canada Basketball, Manitoba Lotteries, Bandy. What's a basketball event without bandy, right? So there's a number of prizes there, and we'll be giving those away throughout the evening at various times. Also, I will mention, if you look in your program, you will see there is a white form that we'll talk about later, and there is an orange form maybe to keep you a little bit occupied if you need something to do, if you don't like the people sitting at your table. You can work through the questions that are on the trivia sheet. Also in the middle of your table there is a yellow piece of paper, and there should be some pens on the table. We'd like everyone who is sitting at the table to record his or her name, address, email, etc. We'd like to add you to our list, our mailing list, so that we can send out various events that are happening relative to the Hall of Fame. So please, if you would, sometime during the evening, and you can just leave those on the table and we will pick them up following. Okay, I would like to say a very short grace. At this time, we pause quietly for a few moments to reflect and give thanks. We are thankful for sport, teammates, the spirit of competition, memories, all the good things of life, good food and drink, and for all those whose efforts have set them before us. Let us be good company to each other. Let us enjoy ourselves, and may our friendships be strengthened. But let us not forget that many are less fortunate. Also, as is our custom, let us remember by name those who have passed away in the 2 years since our last gathering. Some are inducted members of our Hall of Fame, others were important people in our extended basketball community. We will miss all of them. We remember Harvey Lipkin, Jason Kipling, Don Klein, Robert Fontaine, Mike Spack, Bob Reed, Lois McCulloch, Peter Mullins, Glenn McWhinney, Eileen Watts, Wayne Bradshaw, Godwin Uggams, Alvin Kelly, Ron Taylor, Jack Ladder, Vince Serby, Don Glimcher, Gilbert Becker, Bob Gingras, Henry Champ, Stu Douglas, Kathleen Daniels, Jesse Krimble, Dave Anderson, Tom Murray, Jerry Jensen, Donald Reed, and Dennis Alvestad. Amen. Thank you. Enjoy your dinner. 2007, Ken Yellowchuck, 1984, Marjorie Kelly, 2011, Dave Mills, 1985, Kenneth Balco, 1998, Darrell Rumsey, 1998, Ted Stokes, 1996, Glenn Ferguson, 1991, Bob Town, 1996, Rick Watts, 1998, and me, 1996. We also have some builders in the crowd. People who have been inducted into the past in the builder category. Stu Farnell, 1996. Jerry Hemmings, 2007. Mr. Jerry Ochina, 1994. Mrs. Jerry Parker Stilchina, 1994. David McNabb, 1996. Bill Moore, 2003. Rod Pepler, 2005. Vic Burton, 1994. And Bill Wedlake, 2005. We also have some people who have been inducted on teams with us here this evening. First, George Elkers, and we'll hear about George later, Winnipeg Pollens. We have members of the original Stellars with us, Morley Rip, Paul Granovsky, Ab Lewicki, Mike Squark, and Gordy Johnson. From the St. Andrew Super Saints, Jaime Fox and Irv Hammock. From the Mifflin teams, Greg Daniels, John Lavin, and Boris Glimcher. And from Team Manitoba and the 1998, 95, and 96 U of Manitoba Bison Women, Colleen Dufresne. And from the 95 and 96 Bison Women's teams, Janet Taylor and Megan Dixon. I hope I didn't forget anybody. If I did, my apologies. Just one other thing I'd like to mention. I mentioned John Lavin by name, and I will tell you that John Lavin won a gold medal. He played in the World Masters Olympics in Torino, Italy, just this past summer, and Canada won the gold medal, and John was on that team. So John's at the back. Congratulations to John. Probably the most surprising thing is he actually played, I think it was 3 games before he got hurt. That's 3 more than he ever made when I was playing with him. But this is free. We have, if you don't know, we have 4 provincial teams. We have 17U male and 17U female. Both of those attended the Canada Games in Sherbrooke, Quebec. And then we have the 15U boys and the 15U girls who attend national championships, and I believe they were in Newfoundland, if I remember correctly, this past summer. Well, out of those 4 teams, Manitoba captured 3 medals. So we're very happy about that. We have some of the coaches of those teams represented here tonight, so I'd like them to kind of stand and be recognized. First, the 2 coaches of the 17U male team who won a silver medal in the Canada Games in Sherbrooke, Stephen Tackey and Jeremy Martin. And one of 2 coaches, the other being Don Thompson of our 17U female, who won a bronze medal in the Canada Games in Sherbrooke the following week, Colleen Dufresne. And we also have the coach of our 15U boys team here, the won a bronze medal in their national championships in Newfoundland, as I said, John Lundgren. I should mention his wife Sarah, who the previous summer coached the 15U girls team and then resigned from the position for a weak excuse. She was having a baby. And the baby, I believe, is still here. Where's the, hold up the baby so the baby can be seen. There's the baby in her center. We're very thankful to all of our provincial coaches for the work they do during the hot months of summer, and for the development of excellence that we have in Manitoba is due a lot to the work that they do, as we said, every day. As you can see from your program, 2003 marks the 30th anniversary of our Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame. In 1983, the first group of athletes and teams were inducted into what was then initiated as the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame. It did not exist as a site in those days. The actual Hall of Fame that we now have at the University of Winnipeg, that many of you were at this afternoon for the wine and cheese reception, that was established in 2001. So between 1983 and 2001, the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame existed really just in name only. We're very fortunate to have a location for that, and I can still say that Manitoba is the only province that has an actual site for its Basketball Hall of Fame. Other provinces do have. Thank you. Other provinces do have halls of fame, but again, they exist only maybe online or in somebody's office or in a box somewhere. And we are very proud of the site that we have, and a lot of that big thanks goes to the people at the University of Winnipeg, Athletic Director Dorn Reed and others, Tom Nicholson, who've been great supporters of us there, and for a lot of you people in this room who have invested a lot of time and money into that Hall of Fame. In the last, I would say, maybe 5, 6, 7 years, we have invested probably close to $50,000. We have a brand new floor, as you know. We have new lighting. We have a new iPad. We have 2 television sets that show various clips of games and a collage of various members who have been inducted. And we have lots of different ways to display a variety of artifacts. So we feel very lucky to be there, and we're very proud of our Hall of Fame. And if any of you have never seen it, it is on the 2nd floor of the University of Winnipeg Duckworth Athletic Center, and the admission is free, and you're welcome there at any time. We were there this afternoon, as I said, and we do have a counter that counts all of the visitors that go into our Hall of Fame, and I did some math when I was there this afternoon, and in the year from, it was October 4th of last year, 2012, to today, and I actually stopped it before the reception started, so I didn't cheat and counted all of the people who walked in and out many times this afternoon. We have registered 9,899 visitors in our Basketball Hall of Fame. I have here in my hand the copy of the program from the first induction dinner that was held on April the 23rd of 1983. We have copies of the programs of all of the dinners that were held. I believe this one, if I remember correctly, I think I was at it, was held at the Northgate Copa. Now, anybody who would remember that, you have to be at least 40 years of age, I think, to even know where the Northgate Copa was. It's where around where Shooters is out North Main. And it was one of those places that you were happy that they kept the lights low, because if they ever did turn the lights on and you actually saw what the place looked like, you probably would leave very quickly. But I believe that's where a few of them were held early. I have the names of the people who made up the original Hall of Fame committee, and we owe them a great debt, because without the forward thinking of these people, the Hall of Fame would never have been established. And I'd like to list them for you here tonight. Unfortunately, all of them have passed away, and we're not able to have them with us here tonight. They were Charlie Campbell, Hugh Penwarden, Earl Sutton, John McWilliams, Al Whitey Carlson, Jim Bullock, Don Kerr, George Fontaine, and the chair of that original Hall of Fame committee was Ralph Watts. So we're very thankful to that group for their forward thinking. I'd also like to list out for you the original inductees, and you can see them on the big board, as we call it, at our Hall of Fame. In the player category, Preston Dilts, Jimmy Clifford, Al Silverthorne, Lynn Sinclair, Roy Williams, Carl Ridd, and Fred Ingleson. They were the first players inducted into our Hall of Fame. And in the builder category, W.A. Aldrich, George A. Wilson, Elmer Sutton, Harold Doc Mitchell, Burt Jones, Jimmy Goodman, Al Whitey Carlson, and Jim Bullock. And if any of you have been around for as long as I have, and maybe longer, those are some very well-known names in the basketball community. But as we said, unfortunately, none of those individuals are still with us. However, also on that evening, there were 4 teams inducted. They were the 1926 Winnipeg Toilers and the 1952 Winnipeg Light Infantry. We have 2 other teams that were inducted that night, or groups of teams that were inducted, and we're very lucky to have some members of those teams with us here tonight, and I'm going to ask them to come forward in a moment. We have some members of the 1950 and 51 Winnipeg Stellars, who won 2 Canadian Junior Championships. And if you don't know much about the history of basketball in Manitoba, junior basketball was really much better in those days. It really was the only thing other than high school. Like, junior basketball was it, and then above junior was senior, and that was what the Winnipeg Pollens, the 1954 Winnipeg Pollens, won the Canadian Senior Championship and actually represented Canada in the World Championships in Brazil that year. So a different era, and as I said, senior basketball was really the ultimate basketball in those days, and junior basketball was the lead up to senior basketball. So we're very lucky to have some of these individuals here. First, I'm going to ask them to come forward if they would, please. From the 1954 Winnipeg Pollens, George Elkers. And as I said, we have 5 members of the Winnipeg Stellars with us here tonight. And I should mention that all of these Stellars, like many others, but have been great supporters of the Hall of Fame over the years. And we're very thankful for all the contributions they've made. So we'd like them to come forward too. There is Dick Bevan, Morley Rick, Gordy Johnson, Mike Squirk, and Paul Granowski. Come forward, please. I think they all look like they're ready to go. What do you think? Hey, we'll have to work. We made up a special award for the Pollens, and I'd like to present it to George Elkers on behalf of the Hall of Fame. George? say a few words on behalf of the two teams.
Good evening. On behalf of the Winnipeg Stellars and Paulins, I want to express our appreciation to the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame for honoring us tonight on the 30th anniversary of our induction in 1983. For those who are not familiar with us, we won 2 Canadian championships back in 1950 and 51. Paulins, of course, won the Canadian Senior Championship in 54. And I particularly want to tell the assembled guests what a great job that Ross Wedlick and his committee have done in preserving the history of basketball in this province. And believe me, it's a storied one, dating back to the Toilers of the 30s, St. Andrews of the 40s, Stellars, WLI, and Paulins of the 50s, and on through the years. As I look around the room tonight, the first thing that strikes me is that a lot of people here weren't even born when we won our 2 Canadian championships back in 50 and 51. Of the 15 members of that Stellars teams, 8 of us are still around, all in our 80s, of course, and 5 of us are here tonight. Not bad, eh? And just to clear up any misconceptions on your part, no, we didn't play with peach baskets. And there wasn't a center jump after every basket. It's true, there was no shot clocks back then, nor was there any three-point shots back then, although a lot of the balls that went in would have been three-pointers in those days. Has the game changed? Of course it has. Much of it is played above the rim today, but the fundamentals remain the same: passing, shooting, ball handling, rebounding, and I think we did a pretty good job for our era. How good were the teams back then? Well, from 1950 to 1954, Winnipeg was the basketball capital of Canada. In addition to our 2 Canadian championships in 50 and 51, WI followed us in 52 and 53. The following year, 1954, Paulins won the Canadian Senior Championship and went on to represent Canada at the Pan Am Games in Rio de Janeiro. And we're fortunate to have one of those players here tonight, and I refer to George Olmers. You're looking at a guy who scored 15 points against the U.S. national team in that tournament, and it would probably be far more if they counted three-pointers in those days. And so, quite an accomplishment by anybody's standards, right? So, in closing, I want to congratulate this year's inductees, and would urge them and the basketball community as a whole to continue to support the work of the Hall of Fame, just as we have over the years. Thank you.
So they're setting the bar high now. That means that the inductees of tonight, do the math, 30 years from now, we expect you to be here. I will be on that list that you're reading. Just a couple of general comments. First of all, we mentioned that in your program you have the trivia sheet, which we can talk about if we choose to or have time. But the other one I want to mention is the white sheet that is in there. That is, the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame is a registered member of what's called the National Sport Trust Fund. And what that means is that any donations that are made through the National Sport Trust Fund can receive charitable tax receipts. If you want to make a donation and you make the check out to the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame, we are not able to issue tax receipts. But if you make it out, just follow the directions on the form, and if you have a check, hopefully it's signed and it's good, you can staple it or paper clip it to the form and mail it in or give it to me, and we'd appreciate any support we can get. One thing I can guarantee you is that every penny that is donated to the Hall of Fame is invested in the Hall of Fame. For example, even this evening here tonight, everyone on our committee has paid for his or her ticket. I paid for my ticket. The only complimentary tickets are for inductees and special guests. So there's no perks to this job. And we try to make sure, we're not that smart, so if we were, we'd be in the Canadian Senate. So all I can say is if you're interested and willing, we'd be more than happy, because there's work we'd still like to do there. Like our next project is going to be, we're going to be videotaping all of the inductees. So anybody in this room has been inducted as a builder or a player should expect a call or an email or something from me in the next while, because we'll want to set up a time for you to come and be interviewed. We're going to give everybody the same three questions, and we want to get a record of all the inductees on video. Unfortunately, there are many of them, of course, that have passed on, and we won't have a record, but this is something that we think is long overdue. And another thing we want to do, if you've been to the Hall of Fame, you can see that, if you don't know, I'll tell you that storage is a challenge. We have the drawers that are under the 5 display cabinets we have. We would like to increase the size of those. One of the best things about having the Hall of Fame is now that people know it exists, people are donating things to us. People will call me and they say, my dad had this stuff and I don't know what to do with it. Do you want it? And we always say yes. And we take it, but we have to have somewhere, we can't display everything at all times. So we'd like to increase our storage capacity, and that of course will mean the building of new drawers under the cabinets, and we'd actually like eventually to replace those cabinets, because they are originals, I think, am I right, Vic, from 2001, correct? So they are starting to show their age. So there's always things we can do in there, and as I said, the only guarantee I will give you is that every penny that is donated will be invested directly into our Hall of Fame. And the people who work there at our committee are very serious about that, and we make sure that, I know that Janet here is our treasurer, and I'm very good at spending the money, and she just keeps writing the checks. And because I believe that if we've got the money, I don't want to keep it in an account. I don't think it, so we have whatever amount of money in an account. If we got it, let's spend it, let's get things we want, and let's invest it in our Hall of Fame and make it something that we can be proud of, all of us, not just the people on the committee, but the entire basketball community. So we want to continue to do that, so please take advantage of the form, it's there, or take it home with you and do what you can with it. Okay, we're going to begin the induction ceremonies here, and we're going to start with our builders. Even though it says differently in the program, we're going to begin with the 2 builders that we have, and then we'll go to the players and the teams. I remember doing this a number of years now, and one of the things I'm asked often is, what exactly is a builder? And it's one of those ones that often is difficult to define, because when you're a player, it's usually your stats and your accomplishments and that speak for you. When you're a builder, you can build in many ways. Some of our builders are coaches. Some of our builders are officials. Some of our builders are sport administrators. Some of our builders are just people who have been around a long time and have contributed a great deal in many, many different ways. And if you've been to our Hall of Fame, we have a display there now that is dedicated to builders, and the sign that is in the display case says, "Builders give sport vision." And I think that's, in many cases, what it's all about. People who sometimes don't get much recognition, people who you don't see out on the court playing or coaching, people who are around the game a lot, and maybe you hear their name a lot, but maybe you never really put a face to it, because they're not really in the limelight, they're not the ones who maybe get written about in the newspapers or things like that. But we all know that without these builders, sport as we know it would have a great deal of difficulty happening. And Morris and I were just having that talk when it comes to coaches, how that now as we're older, we have such a better perspective on the work that our coaches did when we were younger. Whereas when we were young, we just kind of played and we never thought about it. And I would bet I'm speaking for the Glenlawn and Massey boys teams, women's Glenlawn, looking back at the work that their coaches did with them. Maybe in those days you never thought about it much, like me. But tonight it's one we want you to think about. Our first inductee in the builder category has had a long and storied career in and around basketball. He started as a coach at King Edward School in 1953. So that was right around your era there, George and Dick and the gang. And later coached at Isaac Newton and Sisler High Schools. He was a high school referee for many years in the Winnipeg School Division. And you may not know what this means, but he became famous for the term, and Vic always reminds me about this, for the term, an involuntary whistle. And that meant he blew it, but he shouldn't have. He would say, that was an involuntary whistle. He was on the founding committees of probably the two biggest high school tournaments ever to be arranged in Manitoba, them being the Fort Garry Invitational Tournament, if the FGIT as most of us called it, which began in 1960, and the Winnipeg Invitational Tournament, or the WIT as we call it, which started in 1976. He was integral in the starting of both of those tournaments. He had a long career as a high school principal, especially at Tekvok High School from 1974 to 1985. He became renowned for hiring and supporting coaches in building strong basketball programs. In 1985, he received both the Mike Spack Award from the Manitoba Basketball Coaches Association for his significant contributions to the growth and development of basketball in Manitoba, and he was named to the Order of the Buffalo Hunt in recognition of meritorious service to the youth of Manitoba. In '86, he was presented with the University of Manitoba Board of Governors Distinguished Service Award. Now, Clyde, I've known Clyde for many years. I have trouble calling him that because he's still Mr. Perry, but he has a reputation of being a real straight shooter. Like, he calls a spade, as they said, and then I couldn't quote too many of the things he used to like to say because this is a mixed crowd and there's some young people in the crowd, but you knew what you saw was what you got, and he didn't play any games. But I can tell you one thing he did, is he advocated for what he saw was best for the kids and for the schools he was working in. He believed in the value of sport, especially basketball, to young people, and did all he could to create and support top quality programs by attracting good coaches. And talking about good coaches, when I asked Clyde and I told him that this honor was happening, he was quite happy about it. And I asked him, who would you like to have here to present the award to you? Because we like to try to get someone who is maybe significant in this person's life, as you will see with the other inductees. And he didn't even think. He threw a name at me that I knew. I've known this gentleman for many years too. In fact, I think we played together in high school, did we? Or against each other in high school, yes. And that's Rick Bender. And according to Clyde, Rick was the first coach that he ever really hired at Tekvok. And I think they have a really strong relationship. Now, when I communicated this to Rick, he was very moved, and he emailed me back, and I got his permission to read what he wrote back based on this. And he said, "Hi Ross," he said, "thank you for the most surprising email. I was aware that Clyde was being inducted into the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame, and most deservedly so. I would be honored to present him with the award, and I am extremely humbled by his choice. I will be in contact with him to congratulate him on his induction and to thank him for selecting me to make the presentation of the award to him. I have to admit I was completely speechless and moved that he would ask me to do this. I have always referred to him as my second father, and I have a great deal of respect for him and what he has accomplished as an educator. He is the main reason I became a teacher in the first place. The impact he had on me when I was a student is only symbolic of the impact he had on thousands of young people during his long and distinguished career. Again, thank you." And that's from Rick Bender. And I think there are other people who would echo those remarks because Clyde has left his mark. And I think that's in many cases what a builder is too. Someone who leaves a legacy. And his legacy is of hard work and dedication and support and doing what was right for kids. So I would now ask Rick Bender to come forward to make the official presentation of our Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame induction certificate to the newest member of our Hall of Fame in the builder category. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and honor Clyde Perry.
Clyde says thank you.
Thank you, Clyde and Rick. Our next inductee in the builder category is someone, again, that I've known for many years. I told him that I used to heckle him a lot, but so did probably a lot of other people in this room. Russ Roney is as it says in the program, is really a basketball legend in the Westman region. He's been involved in basketball forever and ever, it seems. And he began as a player coach, an administrator, volunteer, and official in 1955 when he coached the Brandon Y Queens. But he's most well known for his contributions to officiating, as he spent 43 years, 1946 to 89, as a basketball referee in southwestern Manitoba. In 1968, he founded the Westman Basketball Officials Association and was a member of the International Association of Basketball Officials for 22 years. He acted as the Westman Officials assigner and head clinician from 68 to 89. He officiated at many of the biggest CIAU, or CAS as we call it today, and high school games in and around Brandon for many years. If you ever played in Brandon, and I'm sure the guys at the back from the Massey teams, he probably refereed many of your games. In 1996, he was recognized by the MHSAA with a certificate of recognition for his contributions to high school sport. He's very active in the Mike Spack Youth League in Brandon, the Brandon YMCA, and at the Royal Canadian Legion. Now, one thing I can tell you about Russ, he was one of two referees, and the other one is in the room also tonight, at a game that I was either lucky or unlucky enough to play in. In February 5th of 1971, I was playing for the University of Manitoba Bisons, and we went to Brandon. And that was the first year the Bobcats were playing in the university competition. And I don't think I'm saying they weren't very good. They weren't. We had beaten them in Winnipeg, I think it was something like 116 to 68 in December. Like, that was my last year, and we were pretty good then, and we made it to the national final, and they weren't. But anyways, and they got a lot better, take my word for it. But that was a tough year for them, their first year. But anyways, the final score of the game was, for those of you who remember it, 14-13. We beat Brandon 14-13. Now, it was interesting because, as I said, Russ and Aubrey Ferris were the two officials in the game. And I was told, we didn't know this till after the game was over, that they actually brought Russ to practice during that week because the plan was to hold the ball. And there was no shot clock in those days, so you could hold the ball. So what happened was, in the first half, we chased them. We tried to force the play. Not very well, obviously, because the score at halftime, they were winning 11-10. But we tried to force the play. And so we were down 1 at the half. Now the plan was, and our coach Jack Lewis was our coach in those days, I thought it was a pretty good strategy. He said, okay, we're going to come out, we're probably going to win the tap, because we were much bigger than they were. So and if we won the tap and we scored, that will put us up. That would mean we would be winning 12-11. And if they were going to hold the ball, we were going to let them. And that's what happened. We got the tap, we scored, we were up 12-11, they came down, and for 19 minutes, we stood. And I mean stood like this. And all they did was have two people pass the ball back and forth. Now I'll say it now and I'll say it again. Russ, whatever they paid you that night, you were overpaid. Because I was standing and so were you. And so were you, Aubrey. But anyway, so what happened was, the plan was, if you want to know, the plan was, with about 30 seconds left, we were going to foul one of the branded players. And in those days, there was a one-shot foul. I think we call it a common foul. Was it Wes? Or I don't know what it was called. But if under a certain number, so that they were going to shoot one free throw. So the best they could do would be to tie, and we would get the last shot. Sounds like good strategy, right? Okay, so we fouled Jan Kreutzer with about 30 seconds left. So Kreutzer goes to the line to shoot a free throw, one free throw. He missed it, and I'm afraid my teammate on the opposite side of the lane, I won't mention his name because Bob Town might get mad. We seem to have a theme going here, but anyways, he allowed his person to get the rebound. And then when he went, it was Dave Bauman, who many of you remember was an outstanding player at Brandon. He went up to shoot and was fouled. So now he had two shots because it was in the act of shooting. He made both. So now we were down one with about 20 seconds left. We came down and Angus Burr hit one with about 3 seconds left and we won 14-13. Now the only thing I remember about that is, or main thing, I remember we were back in the hotel by about 9. It was quick, but Russ, whatever they paid you that night, you were overpaid. Anyways, his commitment and dedication to basketball has been outstanding. And I think we're very happy to have him here tonight with his family. We also have with him his wife Marge, his sons Dean and Barry and Sean, and Tamra, daughter. And they're with him at his table, and I know they're very happy to be here tonight too. And I would like to call upon Wes Krimble, who is a longtime referee and NABO representative, to come forward to make the official presentation to Russ Roney. And I believe, Tamra, you are going to speak for him, am I correct? Yes. Let's hear it for Russ Roney.
There's too many tall people in the room. It's an honor for me to say a few words on behalf of my dad and to thank Ross and the Manitoba Hall of Fame for this recognition and induction. He now joins his wife Marge, who was an inductee herself in 1991 as a member of the Y Queens. In preparing a few words, I reviewed his accomplishments and have come to realize what an extraordinary man he is and what a great role model he has been. As long as I can remember, he has been involved with young people in sport. You must appreciate how challenging it must have been for him to ref for 43 years and the names he might have been called. He has said that making a call against the home team, you've got to have pretty thick skin. Despite the calls he may have made, he is well respected for both his contribution and for being a fair ref. This is evident by the nomination of the award by Jerry Hemmings, longtime Brandon University Bobcat coach. Thanks, Jerry. I'd like to share a couple of stories from my dad's career. And you stole my glory on the stall game, so that was one of the most memorable games that he reffed. He said there wasn't much running, but it was a most interesting game. And from that game, I'm going to tell you about the old-fashioned butt kicking in February of 1975. The Bobcats had their final home game back-to-back on Friday and Saturday evening. This would also be the weekend that Mike Vira would be honored for his outstanding 5-year career with the Bobcats. On the Friday, the Bobcats were playing their rival Bisons in another close game with a 1-point difference and 32 seconds left on the clock. Roney called Pisak for a foul, followed by a technical, when the Brandon forward protested too much. At this point, Vira confronted Roney and poked the esteemed Zebra in the chest, another technical. When Roney turned to walk away, and in his heat of the moment, Vira planted his sneaker squarely on the butt of the ref. The Bobcats lost the game, and Vira was suspended Saturday for the final game of his university career, ironically, Mike Vira night. And finally, I have a story of my own. I was in grade 10 and playing basketball for the Vincent Massey Vikings under Coach Mike Hill. He spent countless hours working with me to play defensively. We were playing the Neelan Spartans, where my dad was a teacher at the time, and of course, he was the ref. Whether I was good or not remains a question. However, I was trying my best to carry out the instructions of my coach. With 4 fouls under my belt, I was set up to guard the player coming down the floor with the ball. As she hit me full on, and I was lying on the floor, my own father called me on my 5th foul, and I was out of the game. We came home separately. And he thought it might be funny to follow me around the house tooting a whistle behind me. I have been the brunt of many jokes, but in telling this story, I think that I may have gotten the last laughed at.
It's interesting when you induct referees, of course, you don't get inducted into the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame for being a good referee. As a matter of fact, anybody who's ever played the game or coached the game of basketball knows that the term good referee is an oxymoron. Right? Actually, let's just, there's one of those questions. I thought it was interesting. I didn't realize that when I asked, which one is it here? How many basketball officials, referees have been inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, including tonight's inductee, Russ Roney? Name them. So what's the answer?
Rod Pepper.
Well, there's one, but I want a number first of all. According to my calculations, there are 6. There's Al Ray, Bob Koscheck, Bill Moore, Rod Pepler, John Miller, Pud Haight, and now Russ Roney. Now that's interesting because the first recorded game of basketball was in 1900. So that means they've been playing basketball for 113 years in Manitoba, 113 years, and we've had 6 good referees. Moving on now to the player category, and our first inductee is Dan Becker. Dan graduated from Fort Richmond Collegiate in 1984. He accepted a scholarship then at St. Joseph's University, which was NCAA Division I in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He told me a story about that, how he was there with his dad. His dad had connections there, I forget exactly what it was, but they were there over the summer, or over the Christmas holiday. And he was just in the gym shooting around, like trying to keep, active, because he was missing practices possibly with Fort Richmond. And the coach saw him. And they talked, and one thing led to another, and he was offered a scholarship to attend St. Joseph's University. That didn't work out, and he transferred to the University of Colorado, where he played for 3 years, in 1986 to 1989. And he was a major contributor to the success of the Buffaloes, leading the team in scoring and rebounding many times. I know I got these stats from their information officer. His career highs, he had 24 points versus Oklahoma in 1987, and 13 rebounds versus Kansas in 1988. He scored in double figures 19 times, had 4 double-doubles, and led the team in scoring 8 times. In 1988, he was selected to the Big 8 Conference Select Team that toured Europe and participated in the Bratislava International Tournament in Czechoslovakia. He graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Marketing degree, and then started a long professional career which took him all over the world. He has played in Portugal, Germany, Luxembourg, Israel, Spain, Finland, Mexico, and Australia. And that sounds like all over the world to me. He was invited to try out for the NBA's Indiana Pacers and Denver Nuggets, and he attended the camp with the Indiana Pacers in 1991. He's represented Canada at the 1989 World Fishu Games in Germany, and twice in Taiwan's Jones Cup, capturing a silver medal in '84. He played with the Omaha Racers, the Long Island Surf, and the Greensboro Gators in various pro leagues in the States. And he's the only person, I think, who can say he actually played for both of the professional basketball teams in Winnipeg, the Winnipeg Cyclone and Winnipeg Thunder. He was, and he is, a big guy. He's 6'7", and yet if you ever saw him play, he really had perimeter skills. Now I remember, he probably doesn't remember this, and I'm not saying it's my fondest memory, but I actually played in a game against him once. It was some game, he was on a provincial team, and they asked some of us to play against them so they could try to raise some money. It was a Tech-Voc, and I was, let's just put it this way, my expiry date had well passed, let's just put it nicely. I was there, but I probably shouldn't have been, and I remember in the game getting matched up against him. For part of the game, and I remember I'm looking for him, and all of a sudden he's out there. Like, what are you doing out there? Like, get in here, like where I can hang on you and follow you. He was a perimeter player, and he was a really tough matchup. And he still is can play. Let me tell you, I saw them play outside at the 3-on-3 at the Sport Manitoba building, and he can still play. He also is a movie star, and that's in I think the trivia questions, isn't it? Yes, now he was in the movie Season on the Brink, which was a made-for-TV movie based on the Indiana Hoosiers 1985-86 season, with Coach Bobby Knight. And he played the assistant coach, Don Dockich, and acted as the film's technical advisor. And that was filmed in Winnipeg. I think it holds a record of fastest to the 5 for $1 in Walmart. I never did see it. But Dan is now the technical director of Basketball Manitoba, and he is responsible for the provincial teams, our center performance, high performance camps, coach schools, and NCCP clinics. He is a very well deserving inductee into the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame in the player category. And I'm going to ask Kevin Rowland, who is Dan's high school coach at Fort Richmond Collegiate, to come forward. And I'd like now ask you, Kevin, to come forward to make the official presentation of our Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame induction certificate to the newest member of our Hall of Fame in the player category. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and honor Dan Becker.
I have to wear glasses now, so it's the first time I pulled them out in quite a while, but you can see the font is about 20. I was thinking as it's coming up, I'm usually all right speaking, but I was actually very nervous today. And I think the reason is because this is a group of peers, and it's a basketball community. And to have that group honor you in this way, it doesn't get much better than that. So I want to say thanks right off the bat for that, and I want to also congratulate the other inductees and also the past ones that had the same honor. I think it's extremely humbling, and it's probably one of the most special moments you have as a basketball person in this community. I got my thing that says I started my basketball, man. But really, I did get my start in basketball when my father put up a hoop in our yard. And I didn't really have an interest in the game yet. And so at one point I started to, and I think the balls were banging off the house and the window, and he ripped it down and he said, go to the university. And we lived right by the University of Manitoba. He was a prof there. And he said, go to the university and play with the other kids, you know. And that was a blessing in disguise. That was the old Bison East gym. And for you that know that place, it was a special place for a lot of the kids that got to hang out there. We had the older guys passed out all the lessons with a gym 24/7 at our disposal for all you know. The trick on the door, just pop in and it's open for you. And I actually have a note here to really say a big thank you to Joe, the custodian. I don't know how many of you know him. He's an older Italian guy, and the gym rats would be there like at 10 at night, and he'd just come in, he'd look, he'd kind of smile and just say, no problem, you guys can play, but please turn off the lights, close the door, I'll catch you a shit. Literally every night, that was his line. And they used to set up desks in there for exams. Remember the old days, Bison East? They shut it down. They shut down our gym. So we'd pop the door, we'd clean out the desk, we'd pull up the tarp, and we'd play half court, because that's all we could do. All the tables we could manage to get out of the way. And he'd come in, same thing, just kind of close his eyes, say, just put it all back, and no problem. So a big thank you goes to Joe for guys like that, and we have them all over the place. They're the school teachers that open the gym for us, that allow us to spend time with the basketball and the hoop. And they deserve a huge amount of thanks for anybody that gets to stand up here and talk. So thanks, Joe. I got a few thank yous I'd like to go through. One is to my father, who passed away about a year ago. He was my biggest fan, and this would have been a really special night for him as well as myself. So I just want to say thanks to Dad. My mom, who's sitting over there, who's if you talk about goals and setting a role model, she raised the kids, and then at 40, when we were getting older, she went and got her master's, then she got her PhD, then she went to be a prof at U of M at the School of Nursing, and my daycare was the Bison East Gym, which is just down the hall. So without her drive and her focus to do that for the family, the side benefit was I had a gym in my backyard growing up, and that led to a lot of things. She also took care of us and made sure we had good food and the kids were taken care of, and put herself before all the kids needed. So I want to say thanks, Mom. Love you. Next is my wife, Paula. I told her I was going to bring her up here just to embarrass her. I won't, she's very shy. But the last 6 years of my playing career, she was the rock behind me that allowed me to be a selfish basketball player and just do what us players do and just worry about our training and gyms and all that. And then she helped bring in 3 lovely children to our lives, Naya, Tan, and Kai, sitting over there. So I want to say I love you too. Thanks, babe. And we've had a lot of coaches, all of us have, but I remember Dave Pyle and Julian Rhoda. Dave Pyle and Julian Rhoda, my grade 7, 8, 9 coaches at Acadia. I don't remember a bad day in the gym with those guys. They were awesome, it was all positive. You know, as a young kid, sometimes you get that one coach who yells at you and turns you off. They were super positive guys, and they led to a lot of talent coming out of that Fort Richmond area. And then we had Rob St. Germain and Kevin Rowan. I just told them, when I was thinking about the speech, I put next to it, I said, thanks for putting up with a group of interesting characters and making us still love the game and move on, because we were a very interesting group, and that's being polite to the group, including myself. So thanks, Kevin, for all the time you put in. I still pass on I remember one vividly thing you talked about, getting the snap in the wrist, remember that? Pull it back, snap it, sit in the couch while you're watching commercials. I still do it, and I passed it on to every kid I coach, so thank you. Remember these things, and they're very worthwhile. Appreciate it. Dale Bradshaw and Dave Gus with the provincial team. I had the pleasure of being with them for 5 years, and they took it to a whole other level. The amount of energy they put in, and the game point systems, all this stuff that us kids didn't know much about, that really made us value a lot of different things in the game. Now that I'm coaching a bit more, I really understand how valuable those guys were and how much time and energy they put. So thanks, Dave and Dale. Ken Shields and Jerry Hemmings, I saw Jerry back here. So Ken took a chance on a young kid when I was in high school. I was telling Kevin I had a chance to make the national B team. I'd really deserved to make it. I was a young guy, so they kind of took me on potential. But the deal was, if I made it, I didn't have to take my final exams in high school. And if I got cut, I'd have to come back, and it'd be a week delayed, but I'd have to take them. So I was a little more motivated. Maybe I played a little harder than I usually do, but they saw something in a young kid, and they gave me a break. They were the national team coaches over the years, kept bringing me back and giving me breaks. So Jerry, I saw you out here, thanks a lot, and Ken's not here, but thank you, Ken Shields. And Mike Katz and Randy Cassano, two of the good guys in basketball. I played for Mike a few times and just dealt with Randy a lot, and they're just super positive guys that kept me loving the game, and great life mentors. So there's a lot of people that are involved in my life. And I just had many coaches, trainers to support during my days, and they all impacted me. I just want to say a general thanks to everyone out there. I want to add in a couple of things. Basketball, I'm still involved in basketball, and it's kind of a testament to the game, but I've made new friends. Our office is amazing, led by Adam Wedlake. The coaches we work with. I got the Lees over here and the Gerards, who I coach their kids, but just through basketball become great friends, and they're out here to support me, so thank you very much. And I'm just really touched by that. And in closing, I grew up in Winnipeg and was developed in Winnipeg, but I played most of my career outside of the city. But I'm very proud to be from Winnipeg and a product of Winnipeg. And back in the day when the young clowns used to write on their shoes, that was kind of the cool thing. I wrote Winnipeg, Manitoba on my shoes all through college and the pros, and just really was proud to be a flag bearer for a kid from a small city in Canada before Canadians were really streaming down there. And to hear your name say from Winnipeg, Manitoba, or see your name in the program, I was extremely proud to represent Manitoba, and I'm extremely honored that now I'll be in the Basketball Manitoba Hall of Fame. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan, and congratulations again. Our next inductee, they're getting bigger. He began playing at an Aqua Place school. And according to what my information is, it says he fell in love with the game when he made the school teams in grades 7 and 8. I don't know who to cut him, but he made the teams. He played his high school career at J.H. Bruns Collegiate starting in 1986, and he graduated from there in 1990. He went to the University of Winnipeg, where he played 5 years with the Westmen. He was a 3-time GPAC All-Star in 92, 94, and 95. In the 94-95 season, he averaged almost 24 points per game and was selected a first-team CIAU or CIS All-Canadian. He set all-time Westman career records in shooting percentage and rebounding. He represented Canada on our national teams in Argentina, Malaysia, Taiwan, and the United States, where he won a silver medal at the World Student Games in Buffalo, New York. He had a very successful 7-year professional career in Germany with their Bundesliga Division I in Braunschweig, Bamberg, Ulm, and Gießen. How's that? I'm trying. In the program it says that he was one of the best big men ever to come out of Manitoba. Well, you could make a case for him probably maybe being the best pure postman. His footwork, I used to say to kids, if you want to learn how to play in the post, go watch Norm Formell play. His footwork was amazing, and it was only because of repetitions. Norm worked harder on his footwork than I've seen any postman. And I was lucky enough to be working with my brother Bill at that time, or some of those times, and I can remember many a practice where Norm and Jeff Foreman just went at it like unbelievably hard, and yet they were the best of friends. And I used to say to Bill after the practice sometimes, should I let them go? Like, they're going to hurt each other. And he'd say, doesn't matter what you say, they're going to do it anyways, he'd say. And he was right. And they would just pound on each other and pound on each other because they knew they were going to make each other better players. Now, Jeff Foreman, of course, was inducted as a player, I think 4 years ago now, and Norm joins him now. So obviously it did them some good. I also remember when I got a phone call when Norm was at J.H. Bruns, my brother phoned me and said, there's this 7-foot guy at J.H. Bruns, and I didn't know who J.H. Bruns was. I'd never been there in my life. He said, go and see him play. Tell me what you think. So I went. And then this is how so I phoned him after. And this is basically how the conversation went. I said, you know, he really isn't very fit. And my brother said, yeah, but he's 7 feet tall. I said, well, he really doesn't have any footwork. My brother said, yeah, but he's 7 feet tall. I said, he really hasn't had any competition. My brother said, yeah, but he's 7 feet tall. Well, my brother was much smarter than I was, because he went after him. And really, I think Norm will admit it, in the first year, maybe 2, he was the original project. And really didn't play a great deal. But boy, as time went on, he was as good as it got. And we're very, very happy to induct him into the Hall of Fame tonight. I should mention that his mother Gudrun and his brother Doug are with him at the table, plus some other friends he might want to mention. And I'm going to ask my brother Bill, who was his coach at the University of Winnipeg, to come forward to make our official presentation of our Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame induction certificate to the newest member of our Hall of Fame in the player category. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and honor Norm Fromell.
I thought this was going to be higher, actually. That's probably a good idea, actually. I don't know if it'll reach. Thank you, Ross. I think you were being positive there, not being negative to me, but we'll see how the evening goes. Good evening, honored guests and fellow inductees. I'm very honored to be inducted today with the likes of so many greats. And I would like to take some time to talk about something that meant a lot to me. Now, most people would say coaches or teammates or family, but I want to talk about a t-shirt. Yes, a ripped, sweaty t-shirt. I know what you're all saying. What does this t-shirt have relevance for a night like tonight? Well, on that shirt, it had a saying that said, basketball is life. The rest is just details. I never understood or took that message to heart until much later in life. You see, basketball has given me opportunities in my life without measure. It gave me an opportunity to make friends at a young age, especially when you're a gangly 6'8" grade 7 student. It has introduced me to people who were my adversaries on the court and made them into my lifelong friends. Basketball teaches us that academics complement sport and that you can't succeed in one without the other. It taught me how to be humble in victory or defeat. It taught me to deal with struggle and how to get up after that defeat. It taught me how to strive for excellence even when no one is watching. To push myself harder, not because of the fear of a loss, but because I didn't want to let down my teammates or my coaches. It made me understand that the world is a very small place and people all over the world have good intentions and strive to be better people through basketball. It gave me opportunities to play with Steve Nash and against Dirk Nowitzki. It gave me opportunities to work throughout the world and experience different cultures and realize how lucky we are as Canadians. Basketball taught me that coaches shape people into quality individuals with morals, high standards, and integrity, and not bad basketball players. It has given me an opportunity to coach a bunch of boys and make them into a team of men striving for a common goal. It gave me the patience to deal with those men even after the third time you told them to do something. And why? Because I think back and think how my coaches told me something over and over and never gave up on me. It gave me teaching opportunities in schools to give back to our youth. Basketball made me understand that sport can save our young people from bad decisions they are facing in their everyday lives. Basketball being the release or outlet for difficult situations. It made the bonds of my family stronger, always knowing that my family was in the stands to support me regardless of the outcome of the game, or to shoot hoops at home until all hours of the night with that ball rattling off the backboard that shook the foundations of the house. I'm sure we kept all the neighbors awake for a long time too. You see, I was writing this speech, I started to think about every individual with whom basketball has brought me into contact with and how they have blessed my life. I would like to personally thank each and every one of them, but I'm sure Ross will pull me off the stage if this gets too long. So, I want to say thanks to my family for always being supportive and always being there. The Wedlake family, Ross for organizing this amazing banquet, Bill for giving a 7-foot clumsy kid, and, well, maybe out of shape too, right, Russ? A chance and molding him into a man. Sean and Adam, who looked at the traditional basketball in Winnipeg. Mom and Pop Wedlake for always supporting us in the stands, along with other amazing boosters like the Utgers that contributed to our success over the years. To the referees and officials who gave us the opportunity to compete fairly. My teammates, Chris, Jeff, Steve, Grant, for always pushing me farther and making me strive to be the best I can be. The University of Winnipeg alumni that paved the way for our success, like the Apolkos, the Geemans, the Jansons. My work colleague, Bob and Jane, that hired me and made me a better teacher. All I can say is that basketball is life, and then the rest is just details. For all those people that have shaped who I am today, this induction award is for you. Thank you very much.
I didn't mention that Norm is now the phys ed teacher at J.H. Bruns Collegiate, so he's back home. And did I also mention he's 7 feet tall? The next inductee is probably, and you can make a case, being maybe the most successful basketball athlete ever to come out of the province of Manitoba. Like when you look at his resume, his basketball resume, and I'll just summarize it here in a moment, I don't think there are too many others in the province of Manitoba who could say they have done what this young man has done in the years that he has been playing the game of basketball. And I'm of course speaking of Joey Johnson. Joey was born in Manitoba and graduated from Lorette Collegiate. At 8 years of age, he was diagnosed with a degenerative hip disease, which I've been told feels like your hip is permanently fractured. Now that doesn't sound good to me. This closed doors for him, of course, to any able-bodied sports, but I thought the headline that they had in the Free Press the day we made the announcement of all the inductees was quite appropriate when it said, "Disability paved a path to an opportunity." And that's what he did. For him, he took up the game of wheelchair basketball, where he became one of the best players in the world. He was introduced to the sport at around 11 years of age by a gentleman by the name of Jake Smelly, who was then worked with Manitoba Wheelchair Sports. He was identified through the Children's Hospital Rehab Program. He started playing competitively at about 13 with the provincial junior team and played in his first Canada Games in 1995. As a 19-year-old, he was invited to his first national team camp and won his first gold medal with the junior national team in 1997. In 98, with the senior national team, he competed in his first international event. He also attended the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, where he was selected All-American and led his team to 3 national championships in 2001, 2002, and 2003. Joey's success on the international level is unbelievable, where he competed in 5 Paralympic Games, winning a gold medal 3 times, in 2000, 2004, 2012, and a silver medal in 2008. He won other gold medals at the 2008 World Championships and the 1997 Junior World Championships. He represented Manitoba at both the club level and with the provincial team for 19 consecutive years. As a professional, he played in Australia and won many European champions. Here we go again, Norm help me on this, with RSV Landil in Wetzlar, Germany. I'm gonna hurt my tongue here tonight or something, I heard. He was selected as an all-star in many international, European, and international events. He was a member of the 2004 Paralympics team that was chosen the Male Sport Team of the Year by the Canadian Sports Awards. Joey has acted as a player coach on many teams and is a tremendous role model for young disabled athletes. He is a now representative for Freedom Concepts Incorporated, creating a cycle of mobility. I received through Joey's brother an email from a gentleman that I think Joey knows very well by the name of Michael Frogley. I think they call him Frog, if I'm not mistaken. And I'll just give you some of it. It says, "It was my pleasure and honor to coach Joey. I've had the privilege of coaching a lot of very good players over the years, and Joey stands out from them in a couple of ways, very significant ways. First, I've never coached a smarter player. I was always pushing him to work harder on the court. His response was always to find the most efficient way to do things. He used to create the passing lane he wanted, an opponent to use, and then put his hand in the lane well before the pass to steal it. He understood rebound angles. Second, he was a great role model for our young kids. There has been a trend in elite athletes to move away from and forget how much a positive impact you can have on young players. Joey has never lost that. And in fact, he loves to get on the court and work with young players, sharing with them what he has learned so that they can have the experience from sport he has had. Lastly, Joey has as pure an ability to win as any player I've ever seen. He has never been the flashy player that gets all the attention. He has simply won at every location he has to be. He won at the club level, the college level, the US, national, European, Paralympics. The best example of his ability to win always happened at our annual selection camp. Each day of the camp, the players get divided into lineups, and we play games to see who wins. It never mattered what team Joey was on, he found a way to win. If they needed a rebounder, he would get 15 rebounds. If he needed a scorer, he would score points. If they needed him to handle the ball and get 9 assists, he would do that. That was what he did. He was never flashy. He had the ability to do whatever was needed on the court and was a well-rounded player. Oh, and he won over and over and over. It was my pleasure to have coached him, and I would do it all over again if I had the chance. Love, Frog. And I'm sure that means much to Joey because he's probably spent a lot with that person. I know that Joey is here tonight with his parents and his brother and his wife, and they're all very proud of him too, as we are at the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame. I'm going to ask his brother Bill to come forward, who now is the national coach for the Canadian wheelchair basketball team, and he is going to present the award, the official presentation to our Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame induction certificate to the newest member of our Hall of Fame in the player category. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and honor Joey Johnson.
I'm one of the short inductees here, I guess. I can pull this down for me. Well, I can remember being that 8-year-old boy and being diagnosed with my hip disease. And all I could think of at that time was how many doors and how many opportunities were closing, and I really thought it was the end of the world. Yet here I am, 30 years later, standing up in front of all you people, getting inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. So obviously quite a few doors had opened and opportunities were presented to me. I can look back at that time in my life and realize that for every door that I thought was closing, now I realize many more were opening. And for that I'm very grateful. Through wheelchair basketball, I have been fortunate enough to travel all over Canada, North America, and the world. I've had the opportunity to represent Manitoba, Canada, and most importantly to me, my family, on some of the biggest stages available. Through basketball, I went on to get an education, travel, and live in multiple countries, and meet thousands of people who share a passion just like I did. I now look back at when I was 8 years old, and I wouldn't want to change a thing. At the time, I thought it was the end of the world having hip disease. Now I look back and I think what a true blessing it was. I'd like to thank some people that throughout my basketball career helped guide, teach, and direct me to the successes I've enjoyed. Through my sport, the people I have met along the way, I was fortunate enough to learn that through hard work, dreams can come true and anything is possible. Some of the people I'd like to thank, unfortunately, are no longer with us, but one of the organizations, Manitoba Wheelchair Sports Association, gave me my start. Ross had mentioned a man by the name of Jake Smelly, who introduced me to the sport, but there are two executive directors along the way that really pushed and motivated me to become the athlete that I was. The first one was Peggy Hayes, who, when I was 9 years old, actually, I remember going into her office for a meeting, and I was telling her about this camp that I was going to that was held out in Gimli, and she's like, no, you're not going there. I'm going to send you to Edmonton for this basketball camp. And I was like, well, I want to go to this camp. No, trust me, you're going to love basketball. Get going. And basically that's how it started, my career at 9 years old. I went to my first camp out in Edmonton and basically fell in love with the sport. Some other organizations I want to thank, Basketball Manitoba, the Hall of Fame Committee. It's kind of funny, I remember after London last year, winning the gold, coming home, and it was kind of a start of a new phase in my life. I've been playing professionally for quite a long time over in Europe, and I felt like I had just announced my retirement when my phone was ringing. It was Ross on the phone, and kind of took me by surprise. He's like, hey, I'm Ross Rudlink, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, hi. He's like, yeah, I wanted to inform you that you've been inducted to the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame. I was like, wow, word travels fast. Getting back to Manitoba wheelchair sports, there's another gentleman who's no longer with us by the name of Doug Grant. He was an executive director there, and he was a huge part of my success, and very supportive and always pushing not only myself, but wheelchair basketball in Manitoba and Canada to become bigger, better, and stronger. I could stay up here for hours and hours and thank every person and organization that has had an impact and helped guide me throughout my career. Like Norm said, I might get yanked off the stage for that. But I would like to thank all the teams I've ever played for, which have been many, all the players, teammates that I've had throughout my career. I truly love going into battle with every single one of them, and I'm very fortunate enough to say that I am still in contact with 99% of my teammates that I've had throughout my career. Wheelchair Basketball Canada. It's a great organization. They're the mother, the national organization for wheelchair basketball here in Canada. Without their support, Canada wouldn't have seen half the successes that we have seen. And as you've heard, over the last 2 decades, both men, women, and juniors, we have been very, very successful. Lastly, I'd like to thank my family, my mom and dad. They've been with me throughout all of this, traveling the world, encouraging me. I was talking to a friend this past weekend, and I remember my mom waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning with me and going to the local gym and helping me shoot free throws and work on, well, I guess I should have kept working on my free throws. I wasn't exactly the best free throw shooter, so I appreciate that, Mom. I'd like to thank both my brother and my sister. As Ross said, my brother's now the national team coach for the Canadian women's team. I've been very fortunate to get to travel with him. He was with me in Athens in 2004 for the gold medal. My sister, who's also been one of my biggest fans, got to travel all over the world with me. She was in 2000 in Sydney, Australia for my gold medal, so I'd like to thank both of them as well. I was very fortunate enough tonight as well to have one of my teammates, Terry Pratt, one of my few teammates here in Manitoba who actually came out tonight, so I really appreciate that, Terry. Lastly, I'd like to thank my wife and my kids, Missy, Owen, Cameron, and Brody. They're probably my biggest fans and supporters. I thank you for all your support and love over the years and for following me around the world as I got to live my dream. Thank you very much.
One of the things I didn't say that I learned about Joey is that he was renowned for breaking wheelchairs. And they used to give him ones to test them because he played so hard that they would look at them after and see where they broke, and then that would help them, develop new ones. So it sounds like he must have played the game hard to break some of that steel that they used, and although they're very light nowadays, you've seen them. Moving on, our next inductee is someone that anybody who's ever been to a game in Manitoba in the last 20 years knows very well. Her name is Anne Smith. Anne is, of course, a native of the province of Quebec. And I knew I didn't know that all of what I've learned about her, but I knew that when she first came to Manitoba, she spoke very little English. As a matter of fact, I was told that in some of the first year she was with Manitoba, her coach at that time, Colleen Dufresne, who is bilingual, had to do a lot of translating for her in practice. And that sometimes the practices were a little longer because things had to be said in both languages. Well, in the province of Quebec, and here I'm going to hurt myself again, she attended 2 high schools. Polyvalente Armand Saint-Ange in Amqui and Polyvalente de la Forêt in Amos. Yeah? I'm going to have to go for therapy on my tongue when this is over or something. Then she went on to a CEGEP in Montmorency in Laval. And from there, she was recruited by Colleen Dufresne to come to the University of Manitoba, where she played with the Bisons for 5 years. In her first year, 95-96, she was named the CIS All-Rookie Team. She was a 3-time CIS All-Canadian, that being in 97-98, 98-99, and 2000-2001. In 97-98, she was named the winner of the Nan Cop Award, which is presented annually to the most outstanding university player in Canada. Twice she was selected the player of the game in the annual Bison Westman Duckworth Challenge. She was a member of the 2 consecutive CIS Bison National Championship teams that were inducted 2 years ago. They were, of course, in 95-96 and 96-97. I saw Anne play many a time, and I would just use the term, she was a scorer. Like whenever she got the ball in her hands, she was a threat. She could put it on the floor and attack the hoop. She could put it on the floor, pull up and shoot it, or she could catch and shoot. She was really a tough matchup because she had a lot of confidence in herself and played the game and really hard and was just a natural scorer. I was told, I did a little bit of homework up here for tonight. I was told that when she came here for her recruiting trip, we're going to see if Anne can remember this, but I was told that there were 2 players on the team who were told by Colleen to take Anne out after they had met and talked about it. And they took her to play pool in Umsu. Wow, they were really showing her the good times. Well, after they played pool there for a while, they said to Anne, so what would you like to do now? And she didn't speak much English, so she went. She was tired and wanted to go home and sleep. She was renowned for her strength, and I was told that the term I heard a number of times, that she is crazy strong. I was told that when you work out with her in a gym, with weights and things like that, she'll outdo you all the time. She'll do more sets than you. And I was told also that when they went on their road trips, if there was ever a flat tire, she was out and had the tire changed in a moment. She was described as quiet. And I believe, I may be wrong in this, I don't think I am, that Kyla Koski, her family is here tonight, looked after her and got close to her and practiced on time. And it's interesting that Mrs. Koski is here tonight to be inducted as a member of those Glenmont teams. I received a number of messages from other people, one from Gabby Macra, who was a teammate of Anne's from London, England, wishing her the best. And I got a very short email, I'll just read to you. Dear Anne, congratulations on a well-deserved honor. It is hard to believe that 20 years ago you left the friendly confines of French Quebec to make your mark in basketball history in Manitoba. I don't believe anyone could have foreseen the success you achieved on the basketball court and the great friendships and relationships you developed off the court. It was a pleasure to coach you and a greater pleasure to call you my friend. And that's for Mike Hickey. And he would like to be here, but of course he doesn't live in the province. So we're very, very honored to include Anne in our Hall of Fame. And she is now a City of Winnipeg firefighter. And a quote I got from someone was that if ever I was in trouble or in a fire, I would like to have her there to help save and rescue me. And I think she would do a pretty good job. So I would like Colleen Dufresne, Anne's coach for those 5 years at the University of Manitoba, to come forward to make the official presentation of our Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame induction certificate to the newest member of our Hall of Fame in the player category. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and honor Anne Smith.
Thank you everyone for being here, and it's an honor for me to actually get this plaque. Like it's like, sorry, I might be crying. I might start crying because it's Winnipeg. Like I didn't know where Winnipeg was seriously on the map when Colin saw me playing basketball in Montmorency. Oh, you did a really good job, by the way. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Russ. And then Colin just looked at me and said, you know what, would you like to come and visit Winnipeg to play for the University of Manitoba? And I said, okay, I can come for a visit. And then she said, okay, I'll arrange your flight, everything, and then you'll stay at my place. And then when I came to Winnipeg, I didn't actually stay at Colin's place. I stayed at a player's place. That her family spoke just English, and I didn't speak any English when I came here. Actually, I lied to you. I knew yes, no, toaster. Like if you know me, I love to eat, so toaster was really a good choice of word. So I came to Winnipeg, and yes, 2 members of Colin's team took me out. I don't know the place, but you said it. It's at U of M, playing pool. It was Jenna Taylor and Terry Lee Johansson, and both great players. And Jenna is just a clown. I will say thank you, Jana, because she called me Annie. The first time she saw me, it's not Anne, it's Annie. And then she had to actually say, it's not just Annie, it's Annie. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So, but it was like, Jana, I know you're not here, but you were here. She had to leave. But I love you, and thank you so much for being a good friend and an awesome teammate. Also, sorry, I have so many people to thank, and I want to thank my teammates. Marjorie, she's here, and Megan Dixon. Well, the whole table, Colleen and Kim, and Lauren. Sorry, I don't know you. But you played for U of M, so we're teammates. Yeah, we're friends. And all the Westmen. Oh, by the way, I play for the senior women's team, and I play with the Westmen now. And I play against the Bison, so. Yeah, Marjorie, thank you so much for being this awesome defender. You stopped me almost every time. I got really depressed, but that's okay. And Megan, thank you for making me laugh. And you and Kyla were just great friends and teammates. Thank you so much. I'll move on to Colleen. Colleen, I don't know how to thank you. Seriously. You helped me to go through so many hard times. I moved here, I was 16, and I didn't know any English. You were so nice to me. You believe in me, even if I believe in myself too, and I kept saying, I know, Colleen, I know. But it's, I don't know, you know what? I could just show it to you, I cannot explain. If you've been around Colleen Dufresne, she's got this energy in her that would make a player just follow her. I don't know if you have someone close to you that just doesn't even say anything. It just shows you the way. It's like such a leader, and a strong leader that you just follow, and you have so much confidence in that person, and she was one of them. I knew we were going to achieve great things, and like even not knowing all the players, all my teammates, I knew from Colleen she's one of the best coach I ever had. And then on top of that, one of the best person I ever known, because when I moved to Winnipeg, she had Nicholas. Now he's a big boy, like a tall guy, and actually he's supposed to be a man. And she managed to make herself available for us and available for Nicholas at the same time. We traveled with Nicholas. It was just, I know we laugh at it, but it was just such a role model. Seriously. I don't have children, but I know, like I've seen people and I know it's a full-time job. And she did that while she coached a team, and we went to the championship. We won 2 years in a row. And yeah, so Colleen, thank you so much for being there for me, and then for actually coming to Quebec and like just believing in me that, you know what, believing in me that I could be like a great basketball player and a great person. Thank you. If you allow me, I have got one more thing to talk, like one more, actually a family to talk about, and I cannot leave this stage if like I have to say something. And I would love them, if they don't mind, to actually come here so people can actually see them. I know you know them because they've just been like role models for like this still are. It's the Koski family. Ron and Joanne, if you want to come here, please. I promise I won't cry, because I did my last game at U of M. I cried, I couldn't even speak. The Koskis. I moved to Winnipeg, and they were family to me. Like to me, it felt like I was their daughter. They fed me after practice. They made sure I had a bed. They actually went through the whole garage to find me when I moved into my own place. They gave me everything I needed. Oh, by the way, Colleen gave me a bed. It was great, thank you. I had nothing. So they gave me everything. And they followed, like I played with Kyla Koski all like 3 years, and but you know what, they had, even if Kyla was their daughter, I was like there. Like they brought me in and they didn't want to let me go. They said, you know what, you're not ready yet, you're our daughter, you're staying with us. We're gonna feed you, we're gonna make sure you're okay, if you need anything. And I was blessed with coming to Winnipeg, to actually know the Koskis. They've been everything to me. We had a hard time at first because I didn't speak any English, but for some reason it worked pretty good. I didn't lose weight, I didn't. And Madame Koski, she's a great cook. Oh, after practice, oh, it was so great. But I just want to let you know that I came to Winnipeg. I'm really proud of saying I'm from Winnipeg. I know my background is French and my roots will always be back home in Quebec. But Winnipeg gave me a new life. Like, basically, not gave me a new life, but gave me, allow me to see another life. Like, I grew up, there was nothing was English around me, like nothing. And when I came here, it was like just, I'm like, wow. I know you guys make fun of French people, the frog, and we do make fun of English people also. But it's just like, just knowing that there was English people around me now, and there's so nice, caring, and just, it was wonderful. And this family showed me everything I needed, I needed to know, just to achieve what I did and be a better basketball player and a better person also. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you everyone for being here and to listen what I had to say. And also I want to thank you so much. Yeah, you can stay here. I'm almost done. I just want to say thank you, Dan, because I never had a leather basketball ball. And I played, 3 years now for the senior women. And I know 1 year, is it 2 years ago or 3 years ago, for some reason, I don't know why, but I was picked as the most valuable player, and he gave me a ball. And I cherish that ball every single time I go to the gym and play for the senior women. So thank you so much, Dan. Thank you so much.
Moving on now to the teams category. Just before we do that, sometimes people ask me, like, how come so-and-so's not in the Hall of Fame? Or why isn't this team in so-and-so Hall of Fame? My answer is always the same. Nominate them. Like, we look at all the nominations and whatever, so if you know that, or you think there are people we've overlooked, nominate them. The next thing will be in 2015, so you have a while to get it in. So there's a quick solution to it. In the team category, one of our guidelines there is that teams, high school teams, and it's really the school that gets inducted, should have won 3 provincial championships over a 6-year period. And both of the teams that were groups of teams that were nominated tonight did that. The first one, Glenlawn Collegiate. Now this is interesting. In those days, this is the 1961, 62, 64, 65, and 65, 66. They were not the Lions, but they were the Lionettes. And that's what they were called in those days, like most other teams. As a matter of fact, when I played at the University of Manitoba, and I'm old but not ancient, they were the Bisonettes. And that was quite common in those days. So I'll have to check with them whether they want us to put Lionettes or Lions on the plaque that will go on our big board. They played at a time what was referred to in high school annals as the pre-classification era, meaning all high schools played in the same division. Nowadays, of course, there is the A, AA, AAA, 4A, etc., and it's based mainly on school enrollment. This was an era where all teams played everybody. There was no division. As a matter of fact, you could see that in the championships they won, they beat teams from Hamiota, they beat teams from Miami, Manitoba. So all high schools were playing in one league, so to speak. This was also an era, and this is maybe my own perspective, and maybe I hope I'm not wrong, and I hope this doesn't upset anybody, but unfortunately during this time, in my opinion, women's sport was not promoted as much and was considered to be less important. Unfortunately, that was the case. But these young women didn't matter to them because they played the game hard and they did very well. It's also interesting that in some of the articles that I collected, like here's one from 1965, and the top scorer in the game was, referred to in the article, Miss McTavish. Miss McTavish, who was the tourney's leading point player, scored 12 points. And Miss Cooper scored 15 points, and 16 points. So it was interesting how they even wrote about the teams in those days. in that they were the Lionettes and the scorers were miss this or miss that. I don't think they missed too many though, because they won 3 provincial championships during those eras. Some of the headlines: Lionettes are back in Clover. Talented pair propels Lionettes to cage title. Glenlawn repeats 1965 girls provincial win. Glenlawn Hamiota to clash in the title game. So they were there. They did get some press. It's interesting how, you know, for us to even get any mention in the newspaper now, you have to, of course, have a fight at your school almost, and that's the only way you'll get it in there. Glenlawn captures hoop school. Glenlawn captures school hoop show. So obviously they did very, very well during that time. And it's extra special for us at the Hall of Fame here tonight to honor these teams, because the 2 coaches of these teams, Ernie Goodrow and Wayne Ruff, who in addition to being championship coaches, have been great contributors to basketball in Manitoba over many years. Ernie Goodrow was a basketball official and a physical education supervisor. Wayne Ruff as a coach at many different levels. He doesn't usually admit it, but he even coached me 1 year at the University of Manitoba. And a school administrator, and now as a school board member. Both of these gentlemen have contributed a great deal over the years in various ways. So it's extra special for us to be honoring them along with the members of their teams. Sadly, there were 3 members of the group who have passed away. And we will remember those people here tonight, and there are actually representatives of their families here to accept their awards. The 3 members who have passed away were Carol Marchishin, Linda Dreilich, and Gail Koski-Mayer. But all, as I said, have people representing them here tonight. I've also received greetings from Diane Stevens and Pam Loader, 2 other members of the teams who are unable to be here tonight. But it's a great honor for us here tonight to honor these young women. And maybe when they come forward, you might say they're not as young, but I saw them this afternoon and they were like giggly schoolgirls, all having fun together at the Hall of Fame. And it was interesting that the Glenlawn Collegiate had an event for them today, this morning, where the teams from today, the girls and I think the boys too, I'm not sure, the varsity boys and girls teams served the ladies lunch in the gym. And then they got a tour of the school. So they've had a very, very busy day. They're probably getting tired now. But we're very, very happy to be honored. I'm getting tired. So I'd like to call forward these young ladies if they would come and receive their awards. And Adam Wedlake, Executive Director of Basketball Manitoba, will make the official presentations. So if these people would come forward. First from the 61-60, please hold your applause maybe until they're all up here. From the 61-62 team, Nancy Pocock Hathaway, Margaret Andrushko Pfaff, Mavis Giles Lowenberger, Jackie Giles Farmer, Joanne Schultz Koski, Lynn Gafka Laninga, Kathy Flower, Fran Pfeffer Renouf, Sharon Przbilski Campbell, Kay Watton, and Coach Ernie Goodrow. Would that group come forward first, please? Assisting Adam is his beautiful assistant, Ian Dickey. And if you would come up on the stage here, we're going to call up the rest of them in a moment. We all want you all up here. So come up and all. As they're receiving their awards, I'll call forward the members of the 64, 65, 65, 66 teams. Madeline Gosman Noyes, Joan Pocock Sherman, Cease Cooper Hannock, Judy Moon, Jeanette Orr, Linda Craigie Dewick, Sanda McTavish Gross, Marion Doyle Newsham, Janice Hoffman Sklar, Barbara Johnstone Drager, Karen McLeod Mueller, and manager Howard English, and coach Wayne Ruff. Would those people come forward, please? while they're receiving their awards, just one more person I'll mention, and I'll ask her to come forward because we made a special award for her. Tracking some of these ladies down was a challenge for me, but this lady that I'll call forward now was a great help in that she knows everybody, I think whoever went to Glenlawn in the last 40 years and has their email and their phone numbers and everything. So she was an outstanding help. She graduated, I believe, maybe 2 or 3 years after this group, but she has still got to know a lot of them. And her name is Janice Iverbach-Wasik. If she would come forward also, please. You're all going to get on here, so squeeze in. Where's Kate?
Go to the back of the bus. There's no need for everybody to speak French. Because I get to I know.
Come right in here, make another line. Are we tall enough? Okay, first I'm going to ask Kay Watton, who is a member of the 61-62 group, to say a few words.
Thank you, Ross. It's a great honor to be here as inductees of the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame. And I would like to thank the Hall of Fame for this auspicious honor. I was chosen as a spokesperson under the perception that I had a good memory of events. This afternoon we had the wonderful opportunity to be at Glenlawn with the current team, the administration, and the coaches. And we also established fairly firmly that I'm not even in the short list for good memory. When I first learned about this event, I didn't remember even the members of the team. I actually thought, over 50 years, you start to think of your team as everybody you ever played with in high school. And maybe I think that's more reflective of what actually is the realistic situation when you're playing in high school basketball. Girls' high school basketball 50 years ago was so far below the radar as to make us invisible. And so if you have to excuse us if you see us wandering around with great big goofish grins on our face, it's just that we're enjoying our newfound visibility. Many of us on the team started first to play basketball in grade 9, and we played together until we were in grade 12. We started as a part of a St. Vital team that was drawn from all the high schools, and we were chosen for things like our height. Our height was 5'9" at the highest, and we had several members who were just breaking 5 feet. We also had one really gifted player, Joanne Koski, who was also Schultz. Even the boys' team was jealous that we had someone on our team who could do a jump shot. We had several in training, but we did only have one. But if you only have one star, then it's really a difficult and important job to meld together a team. So we were very lucky that we had Ernie Godreau. He shaped and melded us not only into a finely tuned machine of a team, but he also built us up as individual players. We learned a lot from Ernie, and we went away with lifelong gifts about the importance of teamwork, of dedication, and of hard work and discipline. When it became apparent that some of our best competition was in the rural areas, Ernie organized travel for us in buses to places like Portage and Hamiota that we didn't even know about at that time. We had great fun, we worked hard and we played hard, and we established enduring friendships. Ernie led us with a firm manner. He met each new challenge with calm determination, and he was unflappable. Early in the semifinal with Vincent Massey, I was running down the court, and I stopped abruptly and heard a loud ripping noise. This was in the era before Air Jordans and the overly pricey running shoes. I looked down at my foot, and the whole top of my sneaker had ripped right off, sheared from the bottom sole. And I was left with this thing flapping in like a big alligator's jaw. I was desolate. It was early in the game. None of us had extra things like sneakers. I'm not even sure I had an extra pair of sneakers. So we had a timeout, and Ernie looked at my sneaker, didn't say much. Then he started rummaging around in his first aid kit. He pulled out this giant roll of adhesive tape and proceeded to wrap the adhesive tape around my shoe, the top, the bottom, and my foot, like this. I said to him, "Do you think I'm going to be able to run in this?" And he shrugged his shoulders and said, "Well, let's give it a try." I finished the game, but in order to get out of this contraption on my foot, I needed a pair of scissors. I don't remember Ernie ever being rattled. He was too busy working out the next play or the next move. He provided a wonderful model for us at that point in our lives, and we can say now, 50 years later, it was a great lesson that we learned from him and many great skills. Ernie's rules were simple. Give it your best, undertake what you do with dignity and grace, and don't give up. I think those have helped us succeed in basketball as well as life, and I don't think we'd be here except for Ernie Gaudreau.
Before we have Cease speak, I would like to call forward the representatives of the deceased players. I believe Myrna Ronald is here to accept the award for Carol Marchishin. Stan Szaszewski is here for Linda Dreilich. And Ron Koski is going to accept the award for Gail Mayer. Yes, please. If those people would come forward and accept their awards, we'd like to have them up here on the podium. There is an award that Adam or Ian has for you over there, I believe. Go around that side. Yes, Adam? Yes. Yeah. Cease Cooper Hannock, I have trouble saying all those names, but Cease Hannock, as I call her, will speak for the 65-60-60.
You're going to do this in French, right?
I'm going to take a little bit different slant. When we went to Glenlawn this morning, we actually received what we all called the red carpet treatment. We did leave with long-stemmed red roses. Beat that, guys. And we had just a blast, and we were able to take a look at the school and we're fed. But really what really hit me today was, this is a long time ago that we played, and girls on these teams came from all over North America to come to this event tonight. Memphis, Tennessee, my little partner in crime here, Sandy Mack, came from Memphis, Tennessee. We have people from Vancouver. We have people from Ontario. We have people from all over. And what does that say? I mean, that's a long time ago to want to come back and share and be here. And it was basketball. And I have to say though, maybe because it was 65, 66, we had a lot of people watching us. Our stands were full, and we had a lot of press. And I saw it on Mr. Kornberger's, Brian Kornberger's wall today. It is wallpapered, all the headlines of every team that ever played. And he's going to get more as a result of tonight, because we have genealogy experts. They keep everything. So he's going to be adding to his wall, and he was quite excited about that. I asked the girls, what are some of the things that you remember? And some of them sent me a few things. But really, one of them was the intensity of Mr. Ruff's eyes, because you didn't want to make a mistake. And I don't know if you've ever coached girls, some of you have ever coached girls, we're not like guys. We're much more difficult. And there's patience of Job. And he would just look at us and we'd just shake our heads and just try our best to do whatever we could do. And he did inform me today, but he had to tell me which basket to shoot at. I gather at one point I shot at the wrong end. And he remembers. You're supposed to forget things like that. So it's the importance. Glenlawn has a huge tradition that continues today. And at that time, it was the place to be and the team to be on. And we had such a following and such an incredible support from everyone. And some of the people today on this team, we still see each other, either through tennis or through another sport. And after this weekend, I'm sure we'll be keeping in touch with many of the others. We had that whole throngs of fans. We really did have them. And I will personally never forget the night that my shoe didn't go. My strap went. And when you're in grade 11 or 12 and your strap goes, and all your brothers are in the audience, and you have to tell your coach you have to leave the floor at a very important time, and he says, why? And the girls go, she has to leave now. And he said, well, no, not yet, later, not now. I have to go now? And I run out, and I put a pin in, and I came out, and I did one jump ball, and it went again. And I thought, that's it, tuck it in your shorts, go. Just keep on moving. Basketball has its good things and its bad things. Very talented, very dedicated coach to work with us. And we know what we really loved? Picking him up and throwing him in the shower. And he didn't think we could do it, because we have some really short people and not that many tall people. So we really did have an unbelievable time. And I have to tell you, the team we beat in the first year had Linda Kidd, who's now in the Manitoba Hall of Fame, who was phenomenal. She was the first girl I ever saw do a jump shot. We didn't even know what that was. And the second team we beat had Leslie Hamilton Silver, who's also played for the national basketball teams. Silver Heights had two girls that were giants. We were tall, they were giants. And they were in the middle of that court, and we were down by 1 point, and Sandy got fouled, and she had to take 2 shots to win that tournament. And she won the tournament. So that's, and she was described as nerves of steel, that woman, from one of our players. We had a great time, and I want to thank Mr. Ruff on behalf of all of us. Mr. Ruff, we can't do it. And all the girls that played with us on both teams, we just had a hoot, and we've been having fun all day, and we'll probably continue to have fun for the rest of whatever. So thank you, and thank you so much for recognizing us as a team.
We have the banner that is going to be presented to the school. And I believe Irene Nordheim, the principal of Glenlawn, and Brian Kornberger, who is now the coach of the varsity girls at Glenlawn, are going to come forward to accept the banner. And it is just over here hanging on the wall. So if those two people would come forward, please. This will be hung in the school gymnasium along with other provincial banners.
Thank you, ladies. Get in there, Jim.
Just a brief comment. We did, both teams have an opportunity to tour with Glenlaw Collegiate today. And as we went to that gymnasium and we saw the banners that were hanging there from the 60s through the 70s and into the present time, we know that these two teams, and also a team that coached by my colleague Dennis Wilson, they won provincial varsity boys in 1967, set a legacy, a model for those teams to follow. And I know that Coach Brian Kornberger and other coaches who worked at Glenlaw have followed that model, and they've been very, very successful. So a personal thanks to Irene Nordheim, the principal, Brian Kornberger, who gave us that tour, but also to help us in our hearts. We're all still Lions, so thank you very much.
Moving on now, our other groups of teams. As I said earlier, to be considered for induction into the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame, we usually look for a school winning 3 provincial championships over a 6-year period. Well, these gentlemen did the original three-peat, as it says in the program. They won 3 consecutive Provincial B championships. In those days, Provincial B meant and included all schools outside the city of Winnipeg. Their coaches were Mr. Terry Diller and Mr. Terry Little. And Terry Little himself was a top player mostly in Saskatchewan for many years. And as it said in one of the articles I read, he won their umpteenth city title. I believe they went undefeated in the city of Brandon, I think 2 of these 3 years, and for many years other than that. There were, I think, 3 members, and my information may be incorrect, but there were 3 members who played on all 3 of these teams. Not a bad high school record. You go to high school for 3 years, you win 3 provincial championships. And they were Scott Clark, Mike Kearns, and Rod Lindenberg. I believe those 3. Now, if I'm mistaken about that, you can correct me when you come up here. Some of the headlines that were in the papers, it was interesting that these gentlemen got on the emails, and I got copied with all of them. And the energy started to build, and some of the things that were going back and forth, sending me lots and lots of different articles. I said I wanted a little bit, I got tons of it. Some of the articles: is there any stopping Vincent Massey Vikings? Vikings too strong for Hawks. VM's machine too efficient for Lakers. Vikings surprise no one. Some of the emails they were writing back and forth to each other. One of them was cute. It said it seemed like we were always on a bus. And another one talked about Gus's big scare, because they had to come in and after winning the B and play, usually they were seeded 8th and play at the A provincials, and they did very, very well in many of those years. And one year they almost knocked off the #1 seeded Westwood Warriors. One of the other things was the country boys get their say. And here is the name that Michael was talking about. And here's the game that Michael was talking about. I did make a copy of one of the emails, and I thought this was interesting. That says something about their coaches. It says, here's the game that Michael was talking about, and here is the team the coaches gave the tongue a lashing to. I too remember that lecture very well. While we were in the equipment room, a student came by and poked his head over the half door and started to chide us for losing. I guess they lost so seldom that everybody was mad at them. Mr. Little, this is Terry Little, spared no one and tore a strip off him before turning back to us to continue what must have been a great speech. As Michael said, we did not lose another city game over the next 4 years. So whatever that speech was, Terry, I'd like to get a copy of it. They were the original dynasty in that area for many years. And as I said, I don't care what letter you want to put at the end of a provincial championship, if you win 3 consecutive years, you must be doing something right. I would also mention that a lot of them are here tonight, but we got greetings from Murray Kolchiski in Carp, Ontario, Marty Kolchiski in Calgary, Alberta, Jack Langstaff in Abbotsford, BC, and Don Burrows in Brandon. And I also would be remiss if we didn't mention one of the members of these teams has passed away. David Big Bird Peterson was a member of the 1970-71 team, and as we said, has passed away, and we will remember him here tonight also. So I'd like to call forward the members of the 69, 70, 71 Brandon Vincent Massey Vikings to come forward for their certificates. Again, Adam and Ian will do the honors. In no specific order, Doug Hollister, Dwight Kearns, Gene Parks, Grant McPhail, Jim Smallwood, Joe Burgess, Ken Robleski, Mike Kearns, and I should mention Mike Kearns came all the way from London, England for this event here tonight. Peter Bertram, Randy Langstaff, Rod Lindenberg, Rod Zink, come up right up on the stage here, guys. Scott Clark, Stu Clark, Ted Jones, and their illustrious coaches are both here tonight. We're happy to have them with us. Mr. Barry Diller and Mr. Terry Little, please come forward. Ladies and gentlemen, the 1968, 69, 69, 70, and 71 Vincent Massey Vikings varsity boys basketball teams, three-time provincial champions. As they're getting the awards, I'll mention, I want to get it on tape there because Jack Langstaff, who said was not here from Abbotsford, felt badly about not being here, and he actually sent me, but I promised to send them back, his 2 pins from the provincial championship teams that he was on. I'm sure some of you guys hopefully still have these. I said I would bring them and show them. Those are from the provincial championship teams, and they are Jack Langstaff's. And I said I promised to get them back to him. We're also going to be presenting, all of you we want up on the stage, so please make 2 lines here or come right down to the end. We also will be presenting the banner, and we're hoping that coaches Terry Little and Barry Diller will make sure that this banner gets returned or taken to the school so it can be displayed proudly in the rafters at Vincent Massey Collegiate in Brendan. Speaking on behalf of the team will be Scott Clark.
Everybody's telling me to be nice. I don't know. The first thing I'd like to say is I'd like to congratulate Russ Roney. Russ was my grade 9 teacher in Camp Shiloh, Manitoba, and I can tell you quite honestly, he was as tough as a teacher as he was on the basketball court. So congratulations, Russ. I don't know if you're still here, but it's an honor. I have to wear glasses now, so. Good evening, fellow Vincent Massey teammates, coaches, Hall of Fame members, and ladies and gentlemen. What a humble honor it is to speak on behalf of my teammates and coaches of over 4 decades ago and to reunite in this forum with such a great group of guys and coaches Little and Diller after what amounts to 2 generations but seems like yesterday. I know I speak for everyone when I say that in all likelihood this will be a once-in-a-lifetime event. And although, of course, we all would wish otherwise, we have savored every minute of it, including reminiscing, sometimes a lot of embellishment, I would use a stronger word, but we're in mixed company, and treasured memories that have been relished here today. On behalf of my teammates and coaches Diller and Little, I want to thank the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame, and particularly Ross Wedlake, for the great effort required to organize this classic event and to keep the great memories alive and fresh in the minds of Manitoba basketball fans and aficionados. I know we with the Vincent Massey Vikings from Brandon are particularly grateful and honored to be inducted for our Provincial B Championship seasons of 1969, 1970, and 71. To me and my teammates, I have to say we were somewhat surprised after talking to them to receive the news of our induction earlier this year after all of these years. I do not want this to sound ungrateful or arrogant for winning the Provincial B tournaments in those years. But our goal, although that was gratifying and noteworthy, but I know that, and certainly my teammates and coaches, Little and Diller, will agree, that winning the Provincial B titles were really only a stepping stone to what our real goals were. And those were competing with the best talent in Winnipeg and ultimately winning a Provincial A title. Unfortunately, that wasn't to be. However, our coaches made every effort to get us games with the top schools such as Dakota, Westwood, Glen Lawn, Windsor Park, and others to hone our skills and to ingrain in our young minds at that time that not only could we compete and stay with these teams, we in fact could beat them. In that vein, I would like to recount one instance, which I think has already been discussed tonight, which would amount to a reflection of that Provincial A goal. In March of 1969, we had won the Provincial B title and were seeded 8th out of 8 teams and pitted against, in the first game, against the #1 seed vaunted Westwood Collegiate. No discerning basketball fan gave us a chance. I was just a young grade 10 rookie kid that year, but watched in awe as our 6'5" center Joe Burgess played the game of his life. And with the assistance of our quarterback at the time, Dwight Kearns, had the vaunted Westwood team of Gary Vickery, Frank Lindell, and Jack Mitchell down by I think about 18 points at halftime. The gym started to fill up at Tech Vaughan. There was euphoria in our dressing room and a sense of panic I could see on the face of Coach Dave Gus of Westwood Warriors those many years ago. Unfortunately, our pillar of strength that day, Joe, had accumulated 3 quick fouls. Joe tells me 2 of them were not warranted, and I of course agree. All of us agreed to that. And fouled out halfway through the 3rd quarter, and without our big man in the center, we wound up ultimately losing that game. My point here is that our coaches had instilled in the minds of us that winning Provincial B titles was honorable. The ultimate goal was to win the whole thing. Although these Provincial A tournament losses were hugely disappointing at the time, there were many life lessons learned. And upon reflection, the learning to live with these defeats, but to get up off the mat and keep trying, was what it was all about. That too is true about life in general. I'm sure everybody would agree with that. The last thing I'd like to say, and the most important point is I'm sure in all of our minds, is the unique position of being an integral part of a team. Functioning, working, playing not as individuals, but as a team, and achieving goals as a team, because as an individual, nothing happens, and as a team, anything is possible. These guys, coaches and managers, although this may sound corny, we're like a band of brothers, and the bonds of friendship, memories of past victories and defeat will never fade away. As great events such as this attest to these facts. Again, I'm humbled to represent my teammates, and this induction is an honor I know all of us are grateful for, and none of us will ever forget. Thank you very much.
So I will make the official presentation to Coach Diller and Coach Little of the banner that will be hanging in the gymnasium at Vincent Massey Collegiate High School in Brandon. If I could just have your attention. First of all, the entire evening's proceedings have been recorded and will be available online. So if you want to see it again, or if you fall asleep in part of it, it'll be online, available there next week. We'll reconvene here in 2015. 2 years from now, get those nominations in. Thank you so much for your support. Have a great evening.